Hey everyone, Renee here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about all the books that I read in the month of July. So I'm going to do this wrap up like I did my last wrap up. I understand I didn't do one in June. To be honest, I just wasn't passionate about what I read in June. Most of what I read in June was a 3-star, and it wasn't very impressive. I had no inkling to talk about those books, so we skipped June. But how I did my wrap up in May, I actually rather liked. So without further ado, we're just gonna get into it. I have some stats on my phone that I'm going to utilize. So to start, I read 9 books in July. I almost forgot what month we're in. But I read 9 books in July, so I'm very happy with that. In total, it was 2,999 pages, which I'm not gonna lie is a little annoying, because why couldn't one of these books have been just one more page? Into the rating breakdown, I had 2 5-star reads, I had 5 4-star reads, 0 3-star reads, 1 2-star read, and 1 1-star read. I have not given many 1 stars this year. This will be my second 1-star read of the year, so that's something. As far as genres go, I read 2 or 3 romances, 1 or 2 historical fiction, 1 graphic novel, 1 manga, and 2 thrillers. The reason I went like or 3 or 2 for romance and historical fiction is because one of them I feel like you could definitely group in both. So yeah, those are the stats, and I know for my May wrap up I went from best to worst, but I think this time I kind of want to go worst to best. So we're going to start with my 1-star read, which was Every Value Break by Peter Swanson. This was rough. This was a rough read. This book, I almost DNF'd, and I kind of wish I did. But when it comes to thrillers, I find it so hard to DNF thrillers because I just want to know, like, any book, especially thrillers, can be redeemed at the end. So in my head, I was like, this is definitely going to get better. You know, I'm just going to sit through it. But I was really concerned in the beginning because I was like a good 40% through the book, maybe even 50, and like nothing thrilling had happened. Nothing. Like, I almost forgot that I was reading a thriller because honestly, for the first half of the book, I was like, this is just a book about affairs. Like, that's it. And I don't know, it was just not good. And then when the thrilling stuff actually started to happen, it was boring. This book follows a woman who essentially cheated on her husband during her bachelorette party right before their wedding. And that's not a spoiler because it's in the synopsis, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, she cheated on her husband right before their wedding, and then she starts seeing this mysterious guy pop up in different places, and like she thinks that he's like stalking her. And I mean, that sounded interesting. I was like, ooh, a stalking thriller, like juicy. But like how it was executed was just so poor. And one of my biggest criticisms with this book is that you can distinctly tell that this book was written by a man. And I'm not saying that that's always a bad thing. I have no problem with that. But when a book like this, because I'm almost sure that this book was trying to come off as feminist, it so drastically missed the mark. It was almost a little bit misogynistic, and I just was not vibing with it. And I don't know if it's maybe because it was written by a man, but the female character was just kind of dumb. I hate to say that, but like some of the things that she did, I was just like, are you serious? There was one scene in particular. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to make this as spoiler-free as possible, but let me just tell you what I'm talking about. There was this one scene, something happened. If that was me, I would have bolted for the hills. If I had a way out, I would run my asthmatic booty off. Like, bye. This author literally wrote this character to be like she's literally witnessing something traumatic, something horrifying, and like she has a means to escape. And this author literally, I don't know the exact quote, but literally was like, I could have run. Oh, wait, she was like, I could have ran, but I didn't. I walked away. What? I, There were just so many moments like that. So many, like, what the, like, WTF moments. I was just, Anyway, yeah, hated it, would never recommend it to a friend, definitely was poorly executed, and just, it wasn't thrilling. It was just highly, highly annoying. Moving on to my 2-star read, and that is going to be Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. As you all know, I have been reading Penelope Douglas books recently just to kind of like see what it is. I had every intention of filming a Penelope Douglas reading vlog. However, that's not done yet, and I don't know when I'm gonna be done that because I only read 2 of her books this month. So there's that. Once again, me failing at a TBR. Who is she? Of course we know her. But I did read Corrupt, and yeah, it was just, oh, that's rude. But I did finish Corrupt, and yeah, it was just a 2-star. I was really struggling with this book for the whole majority of it, because obviously, like, I knew what I was getting myself into. Like, when I picked up this book, I knew what I was getting into. Penelope Douglas, one of her potentially most questionable books, like, I was fully aware of that. But I don't think that I expected to be bored. Like, I really don't know how to, I'm at a loss for Corrupt. I've said it before, when it comes to Penelope Douglas, you almost have to leave your morals at the door when you read her books. Because some of the stuff that she writes about is just like, how do you even think about writing this? Like, I just want to know what happened to her in her past that made her capable of writing this book. Because, yeah, there are some very questionable things that happen in this book. It's definitely not going to be for everybody. It's definitely going to make some people uncomfortable. And, I mean, I was uncomfortable at some points, but I walked into it like I knew. So essentially, Corrupt is book 1 in the Devil's Night series. They are 4 standalones that each follow a different boy in this friend group. They're the 4 horsemen, which I know is stupid. Like, these boys literally call themselves the 4 horsemen. That in itself was kind of off-putting to me, because I'm just like, that's kind of dumb. But I digress. I read it anyway. And Corrupt followed Michael and his love interest, Rika. And it goes back and forth in time between 3 years ago and present, because something happened 3 years ago. And now in the present, they're almost trying to, like, get revenge on Rika for something that happened to them. But it has some of my least favorite tropes. It has the misunderstanding trope. Ugh. I hate misunderstanding tropes so badly, and it lasted the whole book. And like I said, it's almost like supposed to be suspenseful, because it's like edgy, like what's gonna happen, or like what happened in the past. But I just got so bored. And then by the end, when it was all coming together and there was like a big thing that happened at the end, I was just like, cool, awesome. Like, I didn't care. Then, surprisingly enough, I had no 3 stars. I think this is the first month that I have not read a single 3-star book. So the rest of these books, fairly promising. We're going to start with my 4 stars. And I'm just going to go right in here with my 1 graphic novel that I read, which was Lovesickness by Junji Ito. I don't have much to say about this. I did really like the main storyline of this book. A good chunk of this book is the Lovesickness story, where essentially there's like this mysterious boy at the railroad crossings that's giving fortunes, and people go to get their fortunes told, and he's giving them bad fortunes, and people are just dying. And I thought that storyline was very, very interesting. I read it really quickly, and then the only reason that I docked a star is because the stories that came after it, they were entertaining, but they weren't my favorites. Then moving on, we're going to go with Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is another 4-star. This is a book that I read for my good friend Jan's Full Moon Book Club. This was her pick of the month for July, and I was really excited about it because I've been reading a lot of Taylor Jenkins Reid this year. She's quickly becoming one of my favorite authors, and this book was, I believe, her first book, and I really enjoyed it. I know some people didn't, and I completely understand why people didn't. This book follows a girl who is grieving the loss of her husband, and it's really, really tragic because they weren't married long at all, and like his mom didn't even know that they were married. So like when he passed, she had no idea who this woman was, and like the mom was just like, who the hell are you grieving over my son? And it was just kind of heartbreaking to see that dynamic. But obviously it did grow, and you get to see the relationship progress, and you get to see her relationship with like her best friend, and you also get to go back in time and see the relationship with her deceased husband. So there was just a lot of things that really could pull at your heartstrings in this book. I definitely cried multiple times, and I don't think I can ever look at a box of Fruity Pebbles the same way ever again. Next up, we have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, and I really, really liked this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I didn't give it a 5 because there were some elements where I was like, okay, like it was a little boring at parts, but overall, this, like, if they made this book into a movie, it would be so creepy. Like, this has creepy potential. Like, jump scares, little chills, like goosies, like, I don't know. I just feel like if you put this into a movie, I would really like it. I don't know. Anyway, the book is about a family who lived in this haunted house, and something happened, and they ended up leaving one night abruptly, and the father actually wrote a book about it, and it follows the girl of that family as she's grown up, like after the book's been published and like all that stuff, and she's actually, but she doesn't like remember anything that happened when she was a kid, so she ends up going back to the house to try to remember and find out if the book that her father wrote was factual or fictional. So it goes through her experience going back to the house, but it also does flash back to when they were a kid. So it goes through the events in the book and then events in the current day as she's trying to remember things. It's like a mystery almost in the present day, trying to piece it together, and then the thrilling aspect in the past when you're actually seeing what happened. And I just thought that those two elements put together was beautiful. I thought the pacing of it flipping back and forth was so well done and so effective. I don't know, I absolutely loved it. And I listened to this. I listened to this on audiobook on my commute to work, and I was thoroughly creeped out. And then next up for 4 stars, we have the one graphic novel that I read, which was Snot Girl. I knew nothing about this going into it, but I was just flipping through it and I was like, this art is stunning, like, hello. So I was like, to be honest, I don't even care what it's about. I want to read it. So I grabbed it from Second and Charles one day, and to be honest, I can't even tell you what it's about. I can't even tell you what I read. I can't even put it into words because I don't actually know what that plot was. And I've seen that that's a common criticism with this graphic novel is like, what was the point? I get that. And you should know that going into this, that the plot is kind of weird, scattered, and kind of questionable. Like, but it was just so fun, so quirky, so unlike anything I've read before that I actually really enjoyed it. And the art style just made it even better. So even though I still don't even know what I just read, I enjoyed it. And then the last 4-star book that I read was Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This is the other Penelope Douglas book I managed to get to this month. And I don't think I was quite expecting to like this one as much as I did. To be honest, I am typically not the biggest fan of an age gap romance, and that is what this is. This follows our main character who ends up falling in love with her boyfriend's dad, but it's done in a really nice way. It's done in a tasteful way, I guess you can say, and I do really like Pike. Pike is the main male protagonist. He's the dad. But I don't know. It was just done well. There were several parts in this book where I almost forgot that there was an age gap. Like, there were a couple parts where I was just like, why did he say that? And then I'm like, oh, because he's older. So I really liked that aspect where it's not constantly in the back of my head that, like, he's older. Because I feel like if it was constantly in the back of my head, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. Just because, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of age gap. It is a very acquired preference that I unfortunately just haven't acquired. But I read this anyway, and I did enjoy it. A couple things to note that I didn't enjoy quite as much was, you know, Pike, I guess he's just old-fashioned, so he would constantly comment on, like, what she was wearing. Like, why are you wearing that? Like, you should cover up more. I don't really like when men in books say that, because a woman can wear what she wants. But that's such a small complaint, I feel like. And I kind of battled between whether to give this like a 3.5 or a 4, but I did genuinely enjoy it. Then we are moving into my 5-star reads of the month. I had 2, and the first one is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is Taylor Jenkins Reid's most recent book. This came out just a couple months ago. I think it came out in June. And oh my gosh, this is my second Taylor Jenkins Reid book of the month and my third of the year, and I'm obsessed. I love her. I love her writing style. I adore her character development. Taylor Jenkins Reid has a way of developing her characters in a way where I just feel like I know them. Like, I feel like I am just so connected with them that when the book's over, I just like keep thinking about them because they're just so well developed. And the cast in this book was no exception. Is it Daisy Jones in the 6th level? No, but it is still phenomenal. This book follows the Riva family. It takes place in a summer in Malibu, and it is the day of their notorious Riva party. It happens every summer as like kind of an end of summer type deal, and everybody goes, famous people. It's always just like this iconic moment of the summer, and it follows the family throughout the day. You get to see their dynamics and kind of get to know them, but it also flashes back in time. So not only are you seeing the family now, you're seeing it before, like with their parents. Because in the current day, the parents are not really there. But in the past, you get to see, like, it goes to the past. Like, you get to see, like, their parents when they first met, like, before they were even born, like, the dynamic of what happened with them, what led to them being born, what led to them living the life that they live now. And the family dynamic in this book is just so stunning, and the father relationship in this book is very, I'm not going to say 100% relatable to me, but it definitely kind of hit a little bit closer to home. I ended up getting emotional. I don't think I like fully cried, but I definitely got emotional while reading this book. I really felt for the characters, and I just loved seeing them grow and develop throughout the story in the short amount of time, because it's not that long a book. Incredible, amazing, cannot recommend enough. Absolutely loved it. A vibe for the summer specifically. And then last but certainly not least, the last book that I read in July was my second 5-star, which you could also consider a historical fiction romance. This is the one I couldn't quite figure out where to place, but that is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Wow. Like, what? Wow. The writing in this book, exquisite. I'm going to use that word. I don't use that word often. Exquisite. That is like the best word that I can think of to describe the writing in this book. The prose, the beauty, the lyricalness, so good. Honestly, just, it kind of left me speechless, and I think I'm still speechless in a good way. Like, very different from Corrupt. Corrupt, I was speechless in a WTF way, but with this book, I'm speechless in a, oh my god, how do I even explain this in the proper wording type of way. But this is a polyamorous vampire romance, Dracula's Bride retelling. It is a little darker. There are some steamy scenes. There is LGBTQ rep, as there is bisexuality in here, and like, I just don't even really know how to explain it, because it's just told in such a beautiful way. The writing is stunning. It just like completely sucks you in. And I literally read this in one sitting. It is short. It is a shorter read. There's only 230 pages, I think, in here. So it is very, very quick to read. I didn't budge from my seat until I finished this book. And trigger warning for toxic relationships, if that is something you're sensitive to. The relationship in here can be very, very toxic. But seeing the growth and the development of these characters is as beautiful as the writing. Like, I can't even express enough that I can't even talk about it. Like, I just don't even really know what else to say besides the fact that this is just so beautiful, and I know that it's not going to be for everybody. I genuinely believe that not everybody will vibe with this as much as I did, but it's certainly for me. And if you are into the representation, if you are into lyrical, exquisite prose, beautiful writing. Dracula, anything dark, vampy, a little bit more elegantly dark. Oh, I kind of like that. I would recommend this. So yeah, those are all of the books that I read in the month of July. I did have a fairly decent reading month in July, a couple duds, but a lot of gems as well. I'm content with it. If you read any of these, let me know what you thought of them, and just tell me what you read this month. I would love to hear some of your favorites from the month or least favorites. I'm always looking for kind of new things to try or warnings of what to avoid. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up down below to help support this channel, and also subscribe to follow me on my reading journey. Once again, all of my social medias, like always, will be linked down below. Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, the works, so you can follow me more closely. And yeah, once again, I hope you like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!